Joe, wow. First of all, you must be exhausted. Did you go out with Rihanna and Rocky last night?
Yeah, we had a late night. So yes, I'm hurting.
Yeah, what did we have? Some Chris? What did we sip on? Some tequila?
They had they busted out some wine that was like, I don't know, like
high end.
Really high end. I mean, I couldn't even read the labels. That's how high end it was. Like, courtroom or something like that. Some really funky stuff.
You're a simple guy from Brooklyn. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I'm used to Bola, so it wasn't anything like that.
So, Joe, when Rocky, that was the first of two counts. I mean, he wasn't done yet. That was the first not guilty, and he
Correct.
just leapt over the. When he did that, what were you thinking? Like, get back in your seat?
I wasn't thinking anything because I didn't see him leave. You understand this? There were two counts, like you just said, Billy. And, I've seen jurors do crazy things. Like they could convict on one and acquit on another. Just who knows? But more importantly, I was laser focused on the clerk reading the verdict. And there were two counts, and first count was not guilty. And so I'm looking at him for the second count. I didn't notice Rocky had peeled off. So I looked over to the right to tell him, okay, one more. And he was gone. I said to my partner, Chad, I said, where'd he go? Did he leave? Like, I thought it was over. He didn't even say goodbye. We're like, what's going on?
Yeah. Thank you.
I look back and I heard the commotion. I look back and I see him like, I don't know, like body surfing. It was surreal to me. I was like, I told my partner, go get him. There's another count.
It would be very embarrassing if after that celebration.
God forbid, believe me, that went through my head. Like, everyone's screaming, he's hugging Rihanna and they're body surfing. And what if they came back on the second count guilty? It was like, ugh. So, but of course, I didn't think that was going to happen. I was confident the day before. When there was a 3-hour verdict in a 1-month trial, I understood it was most likely in our favor.
Yeah.
But, still, we had to hear it. And so I brought him back. I said, Rocky, one more count. And then once it was clear, then the raw emotions just exploded. And it was a beautiful thing because it was a 3-year journey for us.
You got very close to Rocky and Rihanna. You got very emotional. In your summation in the end, I could see you got choked up at a moment. You found love in this family. How? Why? Is this time in the home? What is this?
It's just, look, whenever I'm representing someone in a fight for their life, and it wasn't, when I say life, not the death penalty, obviously, but, their liberty, and it is their life, because he would have been peeled away from his kids for a decade or more, and they were babies. And so, it's a fight for their life in the sense that their life would be destroyed, and that family's life would have been upended. So when you're representing someone, whether it's Rocky or some unknown individual in the same situation, you have to take it personally. You have to be involved. You have to treat them like family. You have to have a bunker mentality. And if you don't, I don't think you're doing them, I think you're doing them a disservice. And so I do that with all clients. Rocky in particular, we became very close because this was a 3-year journey to justice. It wasn't like, he got charged last year. This was back in 2022 he was charged. And I remember having to run to LA when all this broke. So, it's been a long journey, and the more I got to know him, the more I was like, this guy's special, and he really is, and Rihanna's special. And I don't mean because they're celebrities. I represent a lot of those, Billy. They were just most humble, genuine, beautiful people. Rihanna is one of the most powerful women in the world, a billionaire in her own right. She acts like she's the same girl who came out of Barbados. I mean, she's as humble as can be, as willing to give as can be. She's
willing to leave her baby with you. Didn't you go to their house and she put her baby in your arms?
Well, it wasn't so much her, it was more Rocky, but yeah, for the Super Bowl.
Rocky said, here, Uncle Joe.
When she sang at the Super Bowl, they invited me, and so that was in Arizona, and they rented this big castle like in the desert, literally, apart from everything else. And that was I've never been to the Super Bowl before. And so I was invited to A-Rod's Super Bowl party, Mike Rubin's Super Bowl party. So all these Super Bowl parties I was invited to. I was like, this is supposed to be great. This is supposed to be great fun and whatever. And I'd never been to a Super Bowl party or Super Bowl. So Rocky said, well, come have dinner with us early. The babies will go to sleep. We'll talk. We'll catch up. Rihanna will be here. And then you can take off. And I said, okay, it was 6 o'clock. 6 turned into 8, 9. And then Rihanna had to get ready for her performance next day. So she was getting her hair done and nails. And that was the end of Rihanna. Rocky and I are talking. He has the baby. His mom was there, but his mom went to bed. His mom's an amazing woman also. And it was just us and the baby. And at this time, RZA was like, a few months old, 6 months old, I think, 8 months old. And Rocky then said, listen, I'm going to get a pedicure. Can you just hold him for a minute? And so
Rocky gets a pedicure.
Rocky, first of all, I didn't even know what a pedicure was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Brooklyn guy does not get pedicures. Come on.
We don't get pedicures.
Hey.
So anyway, he gets this pedicure, and I'm seeing them set up this intricate thing here with buckets on the floor and foot massages. I'm like, I said, how long does a pedicure take? I thought it was like you just clip your toenails or something. And he's like, I'll be done with an hour and a half. I'm like, hour and a half? I said, Rocky, I'm holding the baby for an hour and a half. Is that cool? I'm like, oh, yeah, it's cool.
Not really. I'm going to a Super Bowl party. I've never been to one.
That was the end of that.
You never went?
I never went.
Oh,
so I babysat, and then when he was done, we hung out his patio there and had some of his whiskey. That has a great whiskey brand called Prince Street or something like that. And it's, that was my night. I basically stayed there all night.
For a guy look, Rocky's been in trouble before, right? I mean, in Stockholm, he got into a little bit of an incident. He was found guilty. This is over in Sweden.
Yeah.
Look, they gave him a suspended sentence, but you can't counsel him, even after this, where he was holding a prop gun, right. It was determined. Do you counsel him to say, okay, now let's be done with anything like this. You've got kids, you've got this beautiful wife, you've got a new lease on life. Enough. He's got it.
I mean, okay. He does have it, Billy, because the Sweden thing was really, I know that very well. It was not his fault. It was a bunch of guys that see like 5 black guys walking around in Sweden and are like thinking they're drug dealers and kept pursuing them for drugs. And they were like, get away from us. We don't sell drugs. They're like, come on, man. We want some. We have money. And, Rocky security guys snapped. One point, this guy kept coming to Rocky. He just literally tossed him. It turned out to be on video, and it wasn't a violent toss. It was just a get off me toss. But
a guy like that, you gotta.
But he's got to be. He knows that. He knows that. He's after November 6, 2021, the day of this incident. Rocky's never walked around without security again. And that's, the whole cause of this is he didn't have security with him. If he had his security
so the night
staff,
of this incident,
like John with him, John is the best security guy I've ever met. If John were with him that day, this never would have happened.
Joe Tacopina is with us, the attorney for A$AP Rocky, not guilty yesterday. Joe did a great job. He's, up all night till 4 o'clock in the morning, putting together a 120-page summation, delivers it. I have to imagine what was what was the thing that worked most in your favor? Was it the fact that A$AP Relly was maybe the worst witness that ever took the stand ever in the history of any case?
Well, I said that to the jury. I said I think you guys had a front row seat to the worst witness in the history of American jurisprudence because he imploded in a way I've never seen a witness implode. People were touting my cross-examination, and I'm known as a very good, aggressive.
Here's a guy claiming that A$AP Rocky fired an actual gun, right, and it hit him in the knuckles and grazed his skin. There was nothing found on the scene. There was no ballistics found by police. Right. But then Relly says he went back to the scene himself
an hour and a half later
and found casings and other such things.
Right where the police were searching.
And then he on the stand, he's cursing like the jury.
Me.
He's cursing you. He's spitting
threw a water bottle. Basically told me I don't want to answer any more questions. And then when I caught him in lies, he said, "Yeah, I just lied because I didn't want to talk to you anymore." I mean, I said, he literally had 4 answers for 1 question once. I said, "Did you say this previously?" He said, "Yes, no, maybe, I don't recall." I swear to God, 4 answers to 1 question. So I looked at him. I said, "Well, just pick one for the jury. Whatever one you want, just pick one for the jury." The jurors were laughing at him at some point, and they just stopped looking at him. And, it was like, it literally was the worst witness I've ever seen. And it wasn't just my opinion. It was the opinion of many others. So if you had lost
this case, it would have been like, oh, God. I mean, like you have to go hang up your stirrups.
If I lost this, look, you never know what a jury is going to do. There's video of what appears to be a gun in Rocky's hand, and people were suggesting people thought I was crazy when I.
A lot of people don't think it was a prop gun, by the way. One thing that your prosecutor said, your opposition, John Lewin, who is opposing counsel, he said, what real rapper holds prop guns? I mean,
that's I think that was one of his flaws in this case. I think he was very stereotypical in how he generalized people. What real rapper holds prop guns? That sounds a little racist to me, honestly. So did
you hated this guy. This prosecutor, you really hated him.
I was not a fan. I've tried 120.
I saw the way you guys interacted. I've tried
120 jury trials. I was a prosecutor for myself, and I've been defense lawyer for a long time. And I've gone against adversaries that we've clashed, and we butt heads and we fight hard and whatever. It's never gotten really personal with anyone. I don't mind hard chargers. I'm a hard charger. I don't mind people who fight to win. So do I. This was different. This was different than anything I've ever seen. There's a track record and history with this guy that speaks for itself. That speaks for itself. I mean, he's got, more disciplinary complaints filed against him. He's got appellate courts making findings about his conduct. It got personal because he made it personal. And
is this his first loss?
I heard someone say that.
I heard someone say that this is the prosecutor's first loss. He got handed to him by Joe Tacopina.
Well, it
Joe,
was my pleasure.
I'll tell you what definitely is not a prop gun. The ones that are coming out of your sleeves right now. I got to say,
these are registered,
these are not
They're
prop
registered.
guns.
I mean, I have trouble getting through the airport. When I have to go to the airport.
Look at the size of those. Joe, what are you doing to yourself? How do you doing?
It's the food. It's just I keep the forks,
My God, he's very powerful. So, look, you've represented a lot of, high-profile people. Where do you put this one in the all-timers?
Look, this is up there. If not there was an emotional tie to Rocky and Rihanna, a very strong emotional tie. Like Rocky, the people don't know things about Rocky. Like he's done charitable works. He goes back to Harlem and goes to projects where he grew up and gives food and sneakers and stuff. He doesn't publicize it. He doesn't publicize that stuff. I know what he does. He's such a good person. He's even with my son who has a clothing line called Davide. He's starting it. Rocky's embraced him and helped him do that. He's just such a Rihanna wore one of his shirts one day, and that was the end of that. He just is such a good person. He's humble. Rihanna, who is successful and wealthy as she is, and on top of the world, she's humble. I generally fell in love with these people, and they called me family, and I call them family, and this would have hurt me if that verdict didn't go the right way. And that's why I fought so hard. I mean, the judge commented, he said, "You didn't leave a stone unturned." I mean, how do you do that? How did you do this in every case? I said, yeah, it's the only way to do it. And he said, I've never seen this before, because I did a 5.5 hour summation where I hit every point. And I stopped at one point. I said to the jury, listen, I'm sorry, but the journey to justice is not a speedy one. And I can't sit down thinking I may have not said something that you wanted to hear, some argument I needed to present to you, because I don't know what you're all thinking. But I have an awesome responsibility of having his fate in my hands, which I'm soon going to pass over to you. But kids, I can't.
The little RZA in his little suit coming into court.
Oh my God,
wait a minute.
Adorable.
I have to ask you, was that now that it's all over behind us, was that like an ultimate move for the jury or what?
It's not. Believe me, it wasn't. As a matter of fact,
it had a nice effect, though.
Who knows? Because, the prosecutor actually used it against him in his summation, which I thought was a mistake again.
By saying he brought these kids in here, look at this, to make you feel badly.
Right. I mean, that was I don't know where that argument came from. I mean, honestly, it was a bit offensive to me and Rocky, I know, was offended by that, because the reason they came in that day, like Rihanna's been there every day, but the reason they came in that day.
The nanny was off?
No, it was the nanny was there also helping. But the reason they came in is because that day after summations, the judge had indicated he was going to go give the case to the jury. And if the jury had the case and they came to a quick, result here and a verdict, and the verdict didn't go his way, he was going in.
That was his last time to see them himself.
That could have been the last time he could have seen his kids.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, for anyone to pretend that was a ploy or they were mocked at, and it's awful, because you don't understand what that family was going through. So that's why Rocky and Rihanna in particular had those kids there that day. So they were not disruptive. I mean, the little baby stayed outside the courtroom. RZA, who was a little gentleman, stayed inside, but for a little period of time, and then, they took him out.
Joe Tacopina, who represented A$AP Rocky, sitting there with the whole family. Rihanna right behind him, not guilty. A big win for Joe, and obviously mostly for Rocky and Rihanna. But afterwards, Rocky gave you the nickname. He calls you A$AP Joe.
Yeah.
But you're also Big Taco.
Yeah, there's.
And now online, they're combining it. You're A$AP Taco. Do you know that?
I've heard. I didn't know. I don't really go online that much.
There's a lot of love for ASAP Taco. By the way, you're not getting a new ASAP. You see, ASAP Relly, this is a reassignment of an ASAP. They took his ASAP and they gave it to you. He's definitely not.
ASAP Relly's gone.
He's just Relly.
He's out of the ASAP conglomerate. So yeah, I'm the new ASAP, I guess. Right.
So it's a high honor. Welcome.
I feel honored. Yes, feel very honored. So.
Should put out an album or something.
I got to tell you that those guys are, but you know what ASAP stands for, right? Always strive and prosper. It's not a bunch of like thugs. It's not some rappers that will get together. These are always strive and prosper. Was actually a mantra for these kids who all grew up in the worst settings, worst environments, the ghetto, the projects, homeless shelters, and they did this sort of group, this conglomerate to better themselves and to push each other, to support each other. Some of them made it in music, some of them made it in fashion, some of them made it in other things. And it was really cool. Like this kid, the witness we had, Jamel Phillips, 12E, they called him ASAP 12E. I mean, he was one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he came into court, you know, he's a kid who grew up in the projects. As a matter of fact, Relly, he was one of the kids at the scene that day. And Relly was following him saying, you live in the projects, you're not successful, you live in the projects, you know, trying to knock everyone down. He came in with a tie and a suit, and no one told him to do that. But he respected the court process. And when he was answering questions from Lewin, who screamed at him for over 2 hours, I mean, like he was a serial killer, he didn't lose his cool once. He responded to every question, and he was responsive. And when he was talking, he was looking at the jury, looking around. I mean, it was incredible to see him. And he never lost his cool. And he was so. And I said to the jury at the end of the day, you know, that was a credible witness when you compare him to Relly, who was combative, insulting, volatile, admitted to lying, did lie, you know, and then you have 12E, who was such a nice person, and then to be mocked. I mean, he used a street term, which was, you know, you feel me? And the prosecutor, I couldn't believe I heard this, actually mocked him and said, no, I don't feel you. I don't feel you. I don't know what that means, feel you. And I was like, oh my God, how insensitive is that? But, you know, he was just a good guy. And you know, when you compare that to that Relly, who was as I said,
the worst witness in the history of a trial.
A glorified train wreck. The worst witness in American jurisprudence history.
Joe Tacopina, I couldn't let you leave without you've represented Trump twice, right?
Yeah.
Do you speak to the Donald? Do you text him?
Sure. I got a congratulations message from him and his
Will you tell
team.
him hello from me? I haven't talked to the guy in many years. You know, I also know him.
I heard, one of my trials I did with him, you and him came up quite a lot, like 15 times. I heard.
They kept running that damn thing. Now you know how I feel.
I heard a tape of the two of you guys like 15 times. And I kept saying, Judge, why is this relevant to a claim of rape from 30 years ago? Why is this that? Well, it is. And okay, there was no legal basis. It was just like, but I said, Judge, keep playing the tape. I think once was enough. It's 15 times now. And the judge's like, yeah, I bet you don't like it. I'm like, yeah.
This is the hell that I lived in for 5 years. I would sit there and every cable channel and
you
more.
didn't do anything wrong. You were just an interviewer. I mean, like, holy moly.
Well, you know, somebody had to take the beating. Anyway, when you text him, you got to text him. They're with me today, and I want him on Hot Mics. I want the Donald on Hot Mics, a reunion unlike any other. And I've been really thinking about how I'm going to start that interview.
Listen, I know he loves you because we talked about that tape. So
well, I had many laughs with him over the years. What did he say?
That tape's nonsense. It's locker room talk, and Billy's a great guy, and we were just talking. He's my buddy, and so you know.
I was talking at him. Yeah, that's my guy. So listen, Joe, I got to say, of all your victories, this one is a great one.
It is. Yeah.
And I know you got more cases coming up. At least take a couple of days. Joe Tacopina, ASAP Rocky, not guilty. Rihanna, very happy. I think your son's clothing line, by the way, could have a little under the Fenty brand, might do very well.
No kidding.
The big
Billy,
taco.
thank you so much.
ASAP Taco.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.